Paul could confidently say, "One thing I do." That's verse 13. One thing I do. Have you come to that point? It's a life of many things done for one supreme purpose. It doesn't mean I only do one thing. I only, sit here and pray. It doesn't mean that I only do one activity. It means I do many things for one purpose, one consuming, overriding goal that points everything toward that goal. It's a life of many things done for one supreme purpose. Paul was consumed with one goal in life, one purpose for living. Paul did many things. He had a skill in tent making. He used that to earn a living. He loved to travel. We call them his missionary journeys. He had a tremendous communication skill set. He could both speak and write, and he did all that well. He was a genius in making and staying in touch with friends. Long before Facebook, he seemed to know people on every continent. He just kept in touch with them by prayer and many other means. He loved to sail. He was all over the Mediterranean Sea. He was somewhat of a power walker. He walked hundreds of miles in walks around the Roman Empire. He had social skills that made him comfortably able to move among the highest circles of the wealthy. And yet he was very sensitive to the needs and concerns of the poor. And on we could go, picking out the multi-faceted life. Paul was an accomplished person of many skills. He had one supreme purpose in the exercise of every one of them. He wanted to know Christ. He wanted to be like Christ. He wanted to be conformed to the image of Christ. And he wanted to please him. That was his singular desire, Christ. But here in Philippians 3, Paul confesses that everything he did was harnessed by the one dominating purpose of his life. One thing connected every other thing. Paul, in this verse, reduced the whole of God's plan of sanctification to the simple and clear goal of doing one thing. For Paul, the whole purpose he was saved was harnessed by that one thing, conformity to Christ. Anything in his life that wasn't conformed to Christ, he counted trash. Everything he did in the past, he didn't count that as mattering anymore because he already offered that to Christ. He was in a continuous present state of offering now everything in his life to come toward that conformity to Christ. Paul had connected with the very purpose of God, God's eternal purpose in election and predestination. In fact, Romans 8:29, as Paul had previously stated, he focused his reason to even be alive upon what God's plan was. We, like Paul, have been divinely chosen for a singular purpose, to be conformed to Christ. Romans 8:29 says this, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son." You see, God's eternal purpose with us as believers is to be conformed, to be pressed into the mold and to retain the likeness in our behavior, in our thoughts, in our motivations, to be like Christ. That's God's eternal purpose in saving us. Conformity to Christ. Conformity to Christ is Christ-like living. Christ-like living, as we saw last time, is personal sanctification. Allowing Jesus to personally sanctify me, to set my life, more and more of my life apart for his purposes. That singular focus